Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
God almighty. My name's Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. I want to thank the committee for asking me to come share here. It's always an honor and a privilege to do something like this. I want to thank all the people who did the entertainment tonight. That was amazing. A lot of talented people. I want to thank Ken for picking me up at the airport and keeping track of me since I hit the island. Not an easy task. I want to thank Colleen and Maya for asking me to come out here and talking to me over the last few months, making sure I was going to show up. Necessary. I've been known to wander off. And where's Gary? Gary A. You in there? There you are, man. All right. Longtime friend of mine from L.A. Okay. I have no idea what I'm going to say, and I never do. It's good to see you. There's a hero of mine here, John A. sitting over there. John is an amazing man. Cracked me wide open many times from the podium. Okay, so what you brought me here for? I didn't start drinking until I was 12. I held off as long as I possibly could. I had been restless, irritable, and discontented for a long time prior to that. I didn't know what was wrong. I mean, even before that, when I was a little kid, like 4 or 5 years old, I used to walk and talk in my sleep. I used to get up and walk through the house, stand at the foot of my parents' bed, talk for a while about all kinds of stuff, scare the hell out of them, turn around and walk back through the house and get back in bed, right to the psychiatrist. And the answer that came up to the problem was every night I would give me this tablespoon of this liquid, I would drink this stuff and it would knock me out. No more sleepwalking. So I think subconsciously at a very early age, I got the information that if things aren't going the way you want them to, take something. Sort of filed that for future reference, went into what I call the black hole of my childhood. I don't remember very much of it, and I've been around here long enough to know I don't go looking under rocks anymore. If the information bubbles up, I'll deal with it. If it doesn't, I just move ahead. And still got to have a drink in my hand. I'm just not comfortable without that stuff. When I was 12 years old, they ran a bunch more tests on me. Took an IQ test for some reason, and turned out I had this very high IQ. I don't have it anymore, so I'm not bragging. That's gone. A steady decline from about 16 on. And so my father decided, well, it's time for him to become a man. I mean, I was 12 years old, 5 feet tall, about 104 pounds, clearly on the brink of manhood. And he said, and they decided that I would be going to boarding school, be shipped out. And nobody told me. I mean, just one day my father walked in and said, "Get in the car." All right. I got in the car, and we drove and drove and drove and drove and drove. And we got to this place, and it was like a caravan of family members, and these cars pulled up, and I got out, and my father got out, and he put a suitcase down next to me, and he shook my hand, and he said, "This will make a man out of you." He got back in the car, and everybody drove off. I was in boarding school. Now, the fact is I was being given an opportunity for a wonderful education. The feeling was that I'd just been thrown away by the people who knew me best in the world, and I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I felt like my family had thrown me away, and I was emotionally devastated by that. I called home for 3 days, begging my mother to come get me. And you'd hear me, she'd be being nice to me, and you'd hear my father in the background. Hey. He'd say, goodbye, dear, and hang up. And after 3 days, it was like something broke inside me, and I decided, you know what, you don't want me, I don't want you. And I turned my back on my family, and I pretty much never went back. And here I was embarking on this new life in this boarding school. It turned out I was 12 years old. It was 250 boys from all over the world. They had scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young men they could find. And it put us on this campus. It was like Lord of the Flies in this place. And I was the youngest and the tallest kid in the whole school, the only non-teenager. And that doesn't mean anything to anybody except a 12-year-old. And I knew, man, this is wrong. I don't belong here. I got to get out of this joint. But there was nowhere to go. So I'm just walking around campus, trying not to make eye contact with anybody, scared of my own shadow. And I met Tiny. Every high school's got a guy named Tiny, right? He's 6'4", 240 pounds, plays guard on the football team. And I didn't find him, he found me. And he came up to me and said, how you doing, punk? And he slapped me in the back of the head and sent me and my books flying across. And I had this out-of-body experience where, those kind of moments where you're watching yourself do something and while your brain's saying, no, 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 this is a bad idea. And I walked up to Tiny and I hit him as hard as I could, which had no effect on Tiny. And I just stood there in front of this giant person because I don't know what to do now. We've already passed any experience I don't know anything about. And he looked down at me and said, you got a lot of guts, kid. And then he beat the crap out of me. And as I'm taking this beating, I'm thinking, this is going pretty good. And the reason was that I was absolutely terrified of this guy, but he had said, you got a lot of guts. But my violence had masked my fear. He didn't know I was afraid because I'd attacked him. And that was my first tool for living, was, when frightened, attack. And I went back to my room to, wait for the bleeding to stop. And I'm just sitting there, and my world's just getting really small, right? My family's throwing me away. I'm getting beat up by large people. I'm hanging out with nothing but other teenagers, and I'm not. I'm just the outsider looking in, and I'm losing, man, I'm losing. And word spread across this campus in like 30 minutes. Watch out for this little Hightower kid. He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny. So now I got this reputation that's got absolutely nothing to do with who I am. I'm a frightened little child, right? And now I'm a maniac, right? So the cool guys started coming around. And this guy, Matt, swung by my room, and he stuck his head in the door, and he said, yo, you want to smoke a joint? And I just looked at him, and I said, well, yeah, I do. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I had no idea what that meant. But it didn't make any difference. What I heard was, do you want to hook up? You want to come with us? And I felt like I was alone in the universe. He could have said to me, look, we're going to go kill the Spanish teacher. You want to come? I'd have said, yeah, I'm with you. Let's go. So we swung by and we picked up Steve, and Steve had a Tupperware container full of cheap red wine. Right? Cheap red wine, that fortified stuff, right? No grapes involved. Just, a little Thunderbird. And we went, little identification out there, man. There's some low-bottom drunks in this joint. Thunderbird, man. And we went behind the dorm, and it's me. I'm 12 years old, two 13-year-olds. We're babies standing there. And Matt fires up the joint, takes a hit, and hands it to me, and I just do what he does, and that burns. That's, hope that doesn't come back around. And here comes the wine, take a pull on the wine. Well, that's nasty. Hope that doesn't come back either, right? And it just kept circling around. I'm standing there. I'm 12 years old. I don't get it. My family's throwing me away. I got no friends that I can tell, right? I got knots on my head from meeting Tiny. My lungs burn, my stomach burns. I'm standing here with these two complete, total strangers, and it happened. That thing that makes me bodily different from my fellows occurred. And I got this warm, easy feeling that came up over my body, and suddenly, inexplicably, I'm comfortable standing where I'm standing, doing what I'm doing with the people I'm doing it with. And I've never felt like that before in my life. And I'm thinking, this is all right. This could work. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. Is it the pot? Is it the wine? Is it the fact that I'm standing here with my two very close personal friends, Matt and Steve? because the connection is there now, right? I don't know, and you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I knew, man, you smoke that evil weed, man, in 20 minutes you're on your way downtown to buy some heroin. That's what I heard. You know, you get into that demon rum, you know, your life's over. You're going to jail, something bad. And I looked around. I'm standing there, you know, got a buzz on. I'm standing there with my two pals. Nobody died that night. Nobody went to jail. No blood was drawn. Nobody went to mental institutions. Oh, that was going to happen. But that was not my information at that moment. All I saw was I did this thing that made me feel comfortable and at ease for the first time in my life. And there was no downside. I went back to the knots went down on my head. I was looking for Tiny all of a sudden. Let him know what I thought of him. I go back to my dorm room. I crash. I get up the next morning. I go to school. No harm, no foul. This is good. I need to do this as often as I possibly can. And I did for the next 16 years on a daily basis, no matter what. And that's how I drank. I drank because I loved the effect produced by alcohol. That's why I drank. It was the fear killer for me. And that's what I got to have to be in the world. I got to have something that'll kill the fear, make it possible for me to be out in the world with you. I can't do it without it. I mean, I got a barrel of emotions inside me, and I got all kinds of stuff swimming around up on the top, and I can go get high. The first time I drank, I got drunk. Last time I drank, I was trying to get drunk. Couldn't get there. But that was always what it was about. I'm not a social drinker. I don't know anything about it. I can't even comment on it. I've seen it done, find it bizarre. It is, man. See people having a little glass of wine before dinner, you know, you're waiting for your table, and then they call your name and you get up and they just leave it behind. Disrespectful, I think. Anyway, I got this barrel of emotions inside me. All kinds of stuff. I felt, and I don't know anybody that feels one thing for a while, gets tired of feeling that, and starts feeling something else, you know? I mean, they come and they go based on what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm hearing. You know, there's an ebb and a flow. There's this natural flow to what I'm feeling. I felt 6, 8 different feelings since I've been in this room. You know, terror. You know, when I walked in, damn near sucked all the air out of the room when I saw all you people in here. You know, I felt grateful. I felt love. I felt, you know what I mean, all kinds of things. Mild confusion, but, you know, that comes over me regularly. I can have a couple of drinks and drink through all that stuff, right? But way down at the bottom of that barrel, that deep undercurrent that's running my life is fear. And it's the last thing I feel. And I've got to drink to kill the fear, so I got to get drunk because it's the last thing I feel. So I always drank to get drunk. It was never about being social. I've never been a maintenance kind of guy, you know what I mean? I've never been one of those people that hangs on till 5, you know? It's just not me, you know? I hang on till, you know, 5 minutes after right now. Anyway, it was humble beginnings, a little pot and a little wine. 13 was pills. The only reason I took a pill is because I was hanging out with these guys, and this guy said, "You want a couple of pills?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he gave them to me, and 20 minutes later, I was laying on the floor, and I was very happy there. You know? Came back by, so can I get you anything else? I said, "Just tell me what you call that." I said, 2 and all. I said, "Well, all right. I'm going to ask for that by name now." I was learning. 2 and all, second all, Placidel, all that stuff, right? 14 was psychedelics. The only reason I took a psychedelic is I was on a pass from this boarding school. I was on a 10-hour pass with Debbie. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget Debbie. Debbie was an older woman. Debbie was 15 and a half. And Debbie was a bad girl. And I had such respect for Debbie, man. She was a real eye-opener. I mean, I was sitting with Debbie, and she looked at me and says, "You want some acid?" And I said, "Well, yeah." You know, again, not having any idea what we're talking about, but, you know, I mean, it was working out pretty good so far. So she opened up this lipstick tube and spun it up, and on the end of the lipstick, which I thought was very clever, was this little tiny pill. She handed it to me, and I took it. And she said, "Did you take that whole thing?" Yeah, no identification here, huh? And I said, "Well, yeah, it was very tiny. It was very tiny. I'm used to these horse caps I've been knocking down, you know." And she said, "That was 3 hits of white lightning." Which meant, oh, yeah. This guy over here just went, "Oh. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah. You know, so needless to say, the next 2 days were very interesting. You know, I kind of came out of a fog at one point. I was in a supermarket with her, and apparently we were pretending we were married. Because I looked over to her and I said, "Do we have any kids?" And she looked at me real serious and said, "We have 2." And I said, "Then we're going to need these diapers right here." And then kind of blacked back out, man. And I mean, for years, for me, going to the supermarket was like, it took a real commitment on my part to go in there. You know what I mean? Because they're spooky places anyway, you know what I mean? With everything a little rose and the lights are real, you know, the bright lights and so many decisions to make in there, man. You know, you want a corn, like, you know, cream corn on the, you know, that Mexicorn thing, you know what I mean? You know, this corn, somewhere over there is corn on the cob. It's like, I'll come back, man. You've seen that. You've been in the market going around and you see the little abandoned cart. There's just a cart that somebody abandoned. I understand that guy. You know, it's just like, should have brought a book, man. I'm out of here. Anyway, 15 was shooting dope. The only reason I did that was because I was on a boat in Marina del Rey, California, and this girl walked up to me and said, "You want me to stick this in your body?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And she did, and I did that thing that I came to love. I just went, and as my head was going down, all I was thinking was, "Oh, yeah." That works really good. Instant, fearless, you know? And now I've been talking about drugs and I identify as an alcoholic. And I got to tell you, out of respect for the program, I got to tell you, I'm a child of the 60s. We grew up, you know what I mean? I mean, we were the first drug addicts, you know what I mean? So we thought, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And our parents were the alcoholics, and we were trying to carve out our own identity. It's just a normal, natural progression in life. They were drinking themselves to death. We weren't going to do that. We were going to kill ourselves in a whole new way. So we were very focused on the drugs. But you know what? Having stayed sober a while and done my inventory work and looked back on it, I got to tell you the truth about that for me. I mean, this is just my experience. And my experience is the drugs would come and go. I mean, I'm a down and out guy. I like down and out. I like heroin, barbiturates, alcohol. These are a few of my favorite things. That's what I like. My idea of a perfect evening is just sitting around checking my pulse, you know? That's a good night. Feeling nothing. But if you don't have any of those things for me, I'll take a great big bag of the cocaine. We can't go down. Let's go up. Very happy to go up. I'll happy spend the night listening to the air around my head, you know? On window patrol, you know? Driving on the freeway, decoding license plates. Yeah, you know? I'm in. Intense psychosis. I'm in. Sure. Because I'm not a specialist, you know? It's like, what do you got? You know, that's what I need. If I can't go down, I'll go up. Because I prefer down, but you got to understand, it's not about down, and it's not about up. It's always been for me about getting out of right here, right now. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal, is to get out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm self-centered and afraid. Right here, right now, I don't measure up. Right here, right now, I compare my insides to your outsides, and I lose every time. I can't get it done. So I got to get out of here. I can't get between those. I can't be right here, right now. I got to go either way. So, and having done my inventory work, I look back, and when I was in the maze of all that stuff going on in my life, thinking I was just a dope fiend, I realized that the drugs would come and go. There was only one thing that was on the table every single day, and that was alcohol. And my belief is this, that the reason for that was simple, that drugs are completely unreliable, and alcohol is the most reliable thing on the planet when you got to get done what I got to get done. I mean, there's no quality control going on out there on the streets. You don't know what you got till you get it in your body, right? You go get yourself a fifth of Jack Daniels, you go get a quart of gin, you know what you got. This is so reliable, you can count on this. So when the drugs let you down, Dr. Alcohol is present. Take care of business, get you where you got to get. Kill whatever fear may be left remaining. You do so much cocaine, you can't get your mouth open anymore. You know, you're having a lockdown evening, you know, and it's 7:30 and the party just started, and you've already overshot the mark completely. Don't make any difference. You suck a little gin through your teeth, you'll loosen up and go on with the party. You'll be all right. Not enough heroin to get you to that cool, quiet, dark, just heart and lungs only working place. You know that place? Don't worry about it. Jack Daniels will get you the rest of the way. You know, booze is reliable. You can count on alcohol. So that's the truth about my life, is that alcohol was the thing that I relied upon to be able to live any kind of a life at all. When I was 16, I dropped out of high school. I got thrown in my father stepped back in my life and said, "You've clearly gone insane." He didn't put it quite that nicely. And I was thrown in my first mental institution. They threw me in for 3 months of observation and a year of rehabilitation. They didn't really know what to do with a 16-year-old drug addict alcoholic, which I already was and had recognized myself to be. I knew I was an alcoholic. I knew that I was a drug addict, and I was pretty comfortable with it by 16. It's who I am. You know, I mean, I already knew by the course and the nature of my life by the time I was 16 years old that I wasn't going to have a life like they were talking about on TV and in the magazines, and the corporate America was pitching us at every possible opportunity. That was not what was going to happen. I wasn't going to go to high school and college and get a job and go to work and get married and have 2.3 kids, you know what I mean, and get a dog and a cat and, you know what I mean, and a washer and a dryer and a couple of cars, you know what I mean, and then work for 25 years and live off my pension into my golden years. I was already so far off the path. By the time I was 16, it was ridiculous. I knew that wasn't going to happen. And they're talking to me in this joint about, you know, they're asking me questions like, you know, how are you feeling? You know, I've been loaded since I was 12. I don't know how I'm feeling. Fine, I guess, you know, and can I go? No, we'll talk tomorrow, you know. If you've got insurance, it always just seems to be a problem that continues, right? And so I tried to escape. My first time in the mental institution, I used to have all my meals with this woman named Kilday, who was clearly, had made a conscious decision to just be nuts. And she was very excitable. All he had to do to flip out Kilday at any meal was just look at her and say, "Kilday, how you doing?" And Kilday just flip out and go screaming through the room. It was very entertaining. It was like every meal was like dinner and a show, you know what I mean? You have your little food and watch Kilday lose her mind. And I used her as a diversion for my big escape plan. Now, I've been shuffling around this hospital for weeks, taking my 3 cups of pills a day, right? And at lunch one day, they have exit signs like they have in there, those ones, little green ones that are lit up. And I was on the sign, and I got Kilday spinning off in that direction. Everybody went for Kilday, and I was sitting at the table where I was going to make my break. Man, I'm escaping from the nut house, right? Ready, go! And I'm hauling out, you know what I mean? That's all I got. And my head's working fine. I'm looking down going, what is going on? You know? Thorazine, man. Thorazine shuffle. You know, I had 2 speeds, slow and stop. And that's when I found out. You know, and over the nurses, from the loudspeaker system from the nurse station, you hear, Ed, when you got a minute, you want to grab Earl. He's making a break for the door. Ed's in there having a sandwich waiting, like, yeah, I'll get him in a minute. He ain't going nowhere. It's really demoralizing, man. You know, so they just shuffle you back to your room with no doorknob, you know, and you ain't leaving. So I learned there, my tools for living at this point in my life were drugs, alcohol, violence, and run. You know, and I needed a new tool. If you're going to get thrown in mental institutions like I do, you got to get out before they get the Thorazine in you. So the second time I got out and hit the streets for a while, got out. They threw a net over me, dragged me back in. We're sitting in the intake process, you know, they're doing all the information, checking me back in the nut house. And my mother's sitting there wringing her hands like, oh, Jesus, right? And I'm really glad you got me. It's really, you know, it's rough out there. And hey, look at that. And I took off, man. First day before they got the Thorazine in me. Bells going off. This is an intern chasing me. I bust out in the backyard. I'm racing across this lawn towards a 12-foot chain link fence covered in ivy. I can see it like it was yesterday. And at that point in my life, I'm like 16 and a half, 17 years old. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm a high school dropout. I'm at any moment, hopefully, an escaped mental patient. This is like my resume. This is what I have to say for myself. And I'm thinking if I make that fence, I don't have any problems. Right? Because if I make that fence, I'll be drunk in 20 minutes. And that's all that matters. Because see what? I drink and use no matter what. Which they got a saying in my part in L.A. They tell newcomers a lot of the time. This is just an opinion. I know it's shocking, an alcoholic with an opinion. They say, they tell newcomers, just don't drink or use no matter what. And they stop right there. Yeah, thanks, you know? Yeah, just say no, right? If I could do that, I wouldn't be here. What the hell for? Why would I? If I could just not drink or use, what the hell would I be doing here, man? Every treatment center in the world would be a bed and breakfast. You know what I mean? They'd be kicking out winners, man. 72 hours and free. You know what I mean? You kick, that's it. Now, you know you're an alcoholic. Yeah. Okay, so you know you shouldn't be drinking anymore. Yeah. You know, okay. And I'd go out there and I just wouldn't drink or use no matter what. Fact of the matter is, I'm the flip side of that coin. I drink and use no matter what. Given a good reason, I can't stop. That's what differentiates me from the problem drinker. Problem drinker gets a real good reason not to drink, he can actually stop. He can back that decision up with action. I can't do that. A guy gets a drunk driving charge, another one goes before the judge. Judge says, you know what, I'm sick of you. Problem drinker. I see you one more time, you're going to do a year in county, and we'll talk at the end of that year. No more discussions with you. Problem drinker hears that and he goes, I don't want to go to jail. Actually can stop drinking and driving. Guy like me, I wonder what it's going to be like in jail, because I'm going. I can't do that. I can't follow through on that decision not to do that. That's why I don't like that. Just don't drink or use no matter what. You know, and how we do that is we go to meetings, we get a sponsor, we work the steps as outlined in this book, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which, by the way, is the program. This is the fellowship. Anyway, I'll get off of that. So I blasted through my life. I got out, escaped from the nut house, hit the street, spent 3 years out on the street doing what we do to stay loaded on a daily basis. Thinking it'd be, like Jack Kerouac, you know what I mean? On the road, man, everything's cool. Wasn't like that. It was dehumanizing and it was demoralizing, but I was at the point in my life already where I was willing to pay that price. When I was 19, 20 years old, I met this woman at a party. We talked for 20 minutes. It went well, so we were in love. And we decided, we got to do something with our lives. We're just these, crazed maniacs running around Los Angeles. We got no focus. We got no nothing. I said, well, I should probably go to college. Now, so I heard that there was a guy in town doing interviews for a very good business college in Northern California, and I said, well, I'll go talk to him. So I went home and I talked to him. You know how we are. You know what I mean? He was a musician, so I was a musician. His favorite color was blue. That's amazing. My favorite color happens to be blue. I just lined up with this guy, and an hour later, I'm going to be a fine addition to their campus in the fall. Now, I'm a high school dropout, right? I got details, right? Just got accepted to college. So I go to my father and I go, look, just got accepted to business college. You're running me a year's tuition and I'll leave town. He said, beautiful. Jack, me and this woman piled all our belongings and 8 pounds of hash in the back of this truck and drove to Northern California to higher learning. And we set up shop and she got a straight job and I went to school at night and got my GED, gave them a year's tuition up front, said the transcripts are in the mail. They said, no problem. I became a drug dealer, which I had no problem with doing because I had no morals. I had no ethics. I had no sense of community. I had no sense of family. I had no connection really to other people. So being a drug dealer was fine with me. I'm in business school. I'm studying marketing, production, distribution. I'm applying it to my business. Business is booming. I think college is great. She's getting a little freaked out after about 6 months because of the way I'm drinking and carrying on. And she's saying stuff like, I'm too high. If you can say that, it's not true as far as I'm concerned. So we had to get her back to Los Angeles. And then I was on the loose and on my own. When I was 21, I got diagnosed to have malignant cancer, which made perfect sense to me. It was just, this of course would happen to a guy like me. So I fly back to LA and they do major surgery on my upper back and they prepare me to die and they prepare my family for me to die. And I remember just looking at them so detached and thinking, you don't even know who you're talking to, because the way I'm using these days, that's coming up like twice a week, I'm starting to overdose, and I'm getting, I'm blacking out a lot. Problems are getting, I've gone from fun to fun with significant problems in my life as a result of my drinking. And I went to their nuclear medicine department, and they shot me full of this stuff that they thought was going to beat my cancer, and I didn't like the buzz, so I just stopped. And went back up north and was drinking and using the way I do, and beat the cancer thing. And I'm firmly convinced that at that point in my life, my body had become so toxic that cancer could not live in my body. And I'm a long-term cancer survivor now. So, when I was right before I turned 22, my mother calls me up and says, we haven't been anywhere as a family in almost 10 years. We've got to put this family back together. We'll go anywhere you want to go for your birthday. Let's just go somewhere. And she was crying. And, I mean, that's like a really low trick that mothers use. You know, they just start to weep uncontrollably. And what are you going to do? You know, and I said, fine. You know? So on my 22nd birthday, I flew back to L.A. and we got my father's plane to fly to Guadalajara. And on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, my little sister all died in the crash. And I didn't. And I woke up on this mountain in Mexico, and my skull was fractured, and my back was broken in 3 places, leg crushed, arm crushed. I was paralyzed from the waist down, and I had a lot of internal injuries. I was laying on this mountain, and the only thing I could move was my right arm. And I was awake, which was the cruelest part of all. And my mother was laying right over there, and my little sister Kimberly was right over there, and my father was laying right over there. And I couldn't move, and I couldn't get to any of them to help them. And I had to lay there and watch them all bleed to death in front of me. And I had a little chat with God at that point, because I figured I was going to die. I said, you know what? Any God that would take a kind, gentle, loving, poetic little creature like my little sister Kimberly and leave a lying, cheating, thieving, dope fiend alcoholic like me on the planet, I had no use for a God of this type, and I renounced God. And then some guys came up on the mountain, and they worked their way through the crash site. And I remember taking my wallet out, putting it on my chest, and holding it up, because I knew I was going to die, but I wanted to know who I was. This is who I was. And the guy took the wallet out of my hand, took the money out of it, threw my wallet back on my chest, and moved on through the wreck site. And they scavenged the plane wreck and then went back down the mountain and left me up there to die. So I had no more love for you either. I had no love of God, and I had no love of my fellow man. And all the things that I had done in my life had been an attempt on my part just to keep you at bay, to put up that facade that said, okay, I'm doing my thing over here. I'm going to college. I've been accepted, got an early acceptance to USC Law School. I got all this stuff going on. You know, I got this cancer thing, you know what I mean? I got a lot of pressure, so that you just let me drink and use the way I wanted to, and you wouldn't get in my face about it. And now, I didn't care whether you got in my face about it or not. I didn't care what you thought. And I got real angry, and I remember all I could do was bang my elbow into my right side, and it hurt so bad when I did that because of my back that the pain kept lifting me up out of the shock, because I'd been hurt bad before, and I knew that if I shocked out, I was dead. And pretty soon these other guys, after a while, these guys came up, and they threw me in the back of carried me down and threw me in the back of a flatbed truck beside my mother, and they drove us down to an aid station in Mexico, and they tagged my mother dead, and they tagged me dead, and they sat there smoking cigarettes waiting for me to die. I was just way too angry. I was way too angry. And finally they took me to a hospital in Los Mochis, Mexico, Hospital Fatima, and they found out who I was, so here came the federales, and I was interrogated through an interpreter by the federales for 3.5 days, and they wouldn't give me anything for pain. They wanted to know what I was doing back in Mexico, which is another story completely. We don't need to get into that here. And I finally called up a buddy of mine in Northern California who called the family in Mexico City, and they flew in a plane and paid a bunch of people off, and they plastered me from the neck down, and they smuggled me back up into the States, and I went into a hospital in Santa Monica, California, and I was there for a long time. And they didn't know if I was going to walk again. They thought I'd have a withered left hand from the damage in my arm, and I'd be blind in my left eye. And I remember, again, looking at them thinking, you don't even know who you're talking to, man. I was way too angry. And I didn't know at the time I was suffering from severe survivor's guilt. I didn't know that post-traumatic stress syndrome was going to, you know, just annihilate my ability to be in the world. I mean, I felt like I had no right to be alive. I felt like everybody died going to Mexico for my birthday. You all die on my birthday. I'm still here. This isn't right. I should be dead. And I would wake up every morning thinking, you got no right. You got no right. I was in that hospital for quite a while, taking maximum doses of Demerol every 3 hours around the clock, working the nurses. I came out of there in a back brace and cast on my leg using a cane, hair down the middle of my back, beard, crazy. I was crazy. And I started drinking. I went on my last run, and it lasted for 6 years. And I was sober 3 times during that 6 years. They were for 72 hours each, and that was because I'd get so sick I knew I was dying, and I would go to this little bootleg sanitarium in Hollywood, California, where you'd pay them $150 cash, and you'd give them your wallet and your gun and your car keys and your big bottle of Valium, because every once in a while I'd get so toxic I couldn't drink anymore, because the drugs, I was overdosing so much, the drugs had gotten pretty unreliable for me, and I had recognized that, and I was just drinking. I was snorting about 3 to 4 grams of cocaine a day just to keep me on my feet so that I could drink the way I wanted to drink. And when I get so sick I couldn't drink, I'd eat about 150 milligrams of Valium a day till I could just get well enough to go back to drinking. It was never about getting sober for me. And I'd go into the sanitarium paying the 150 cash. They'd take you in and strap you on a gurney, shoot you full of anticonvulsants, and let you ride. And 72 hours later, they'd either send you home or to the morgue, and they didn't really care which way you went. They had their money. And I'd reintroduce myself to God in those kicks, man. And I would say, you know what? You get me out of this sane and alive, and both seem to be in real question here, and I will never, ever, ever drink again. I can't drink anymore. My life is kicked. The violence is insane. It's all gone insane. And I can't do this anymore. And I would get up off that table after 72 hours, and I would go in, they would give me all my stuff back, and they'd say, you be a good boy, Earl, don't you drink. And I'd say, no, ma'am. My ass is kicked. I surrender. Because I knew I was an alcoholic. Self-knowledge availed me nothing. And I'd be drunk that night. 4 days later, I'd come to in a different city. Or I'd come to down on Speedway in Venice, California. There's a couple guys here who know what I'm talking about. And I'd come out of a blackout, and there'd be 4 cops standing there, and none of them were happy. And you don't know what's going on. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what time you don't know anything except 4 police officers not happy. But you're so good at coming out of blackouts because it's what you've gotten accustomed to. You know, just stand there with your hands, keep your hands where they can see them, and nod, and eventually you're going to find out why we're here. The only other option is just say, excuse me, officers, I just got here. Just a little thing I do where I'm here, I'm not here, I'm here, I'm not here. And I just arrived, so if you tell me what's going on, I'll be happy to answer your question. You're going to jail. And I remember that last detox and thinking, you know, I can't live like this anymore. It was insane, and I drank for 2 more years. And I came out of my last blackout, and I was 215 pounds. I was yellow. I had hair out like this and a beard out like this. Both my hands were broken. I still don't know what I'd done. They were deciding whether or not to charge me with attempted murder. My family was dead. I had no friends. I had no place to live. I was psychotic, and I don't use the term loosely. I could not distinguish between the true or the false. I didn't know what was going on. I was just insane. I'd broken 74 bones. I had over 650 stitches in me. I'd been stabbed twice, shot at. I mean, the violence in my life had been insane. And I had my moment of clarity. And my moment of clarity, my original sponsor, the late, great Donald Madden, used to say to me, the bottom for a guy like you is dead. And my bottom was of an emotional, of a spiritual nature, is I had the moment of clarity, and I understood very clearly that the police hadn't done this to me, God hadn't done this to me, my father hadn't done this to me. This was a direct result of my alcoholism. This is what led me here. And I was not connected to another human being on the face of the earth, and hadn't been for a long time. And that was a direct result of my alcoholism. And it just broke my back. And I just threw up these 2 busted paws, and I said, help. And they took me to a place, and they pumped my stomach, where they'd pumped it many times. I had my stomach pumped so many times I could talk to you while you did it. Yeah. How you doing, Earl? Oh, it was a bad day. And they said, get him out of here, he's going to die. I was just a pathetic little old man. And it was the day before I was 27 years old, the day before I turned 28. And I went to another place that kept me for 5 days, and I got worse. They took me by ambulance to another place that kept me for 12 more days of detox and 30 days on a free bed. And I came out of there knowing one thing: if you don't want to die, you better go to Alcoholics Anonymous, because if you drink again, you're going to die. And I said, okay. You know? And I got here a beautiful way. I got here destroyed. I mean, there was no area of my life that I could look to and say, oh, well, it's going well here. You know, there was no area like that. It was just a wasteland. I came in annihilated. And I came on a Friday night to the basement of a church, which is why I like this meeting. You know, they got this big giant convention center, all plush and stuff, and here we are in the basement, man. I dig the basement. I think this is great, man. I go downstairs to my meetings. You know what I mean? And I'm in the basement of a church on a Friday night, 8:30, and I go and I sit in the back, and I got no idea. I don't want what you have. I don't know what you have. I just know I can't live with what I have anymore. That's why I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I sat in the back, my arms folded, my best tough guy look on my face, mad dogging everybody. You know, because it's like, don't come up and talk to me, man. I mean, the look on my face was, no, go peddle your wares someplace else, man. I don't want to hear about it. And the fact of the matter is that's because I was like glass. You were going to come up and ask me questions I couldn't answer. Because the truth for me, if you walked up and said, there were unanswerable questions. How you doing? What's going on? I don't know. I just don't know. That's why I'm here. If I'd have been honest when I came here, and if you'd have said anything to me, I would have just started screaming. Because I was nuts. And scared to death that I was going to have to go back and dance with the beast some more. I was going to have to go back into the madness. And I was willing to do, I had been beaten into a state of reasonableness, like the book says, by my alcoholism, man. I did not want to go do that dance again. And I came and I sat in the back, and all the old-timers were cool, man. They stayed off of me. They saw that I was a very, very frightened individual, and as a result of that, possibly dangerous. And they just let me be. And they said, glad you're here, brother, to get yourself some coffee and have a seat. I was like, yeah. But every meeting's got like that new guy who's just caught fire with Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's going to give it away tonight. That guy was there, man. All he saw was new guy, man. He came at me. He had his hand out. He was smiling, and I hated that. And he came up to me and said, my name is Vegas. I'm an alcoholic. And I said, so what? Me too, brother. It ain't exactly the highlight of my life. I don't know what you're so thrilled about. Get away from me. And he looked at me and he said, keep coming back, man. And these couple guys standing next to him kind of went, oh, did you see that? Vegas told him, keep coming back. Like there's some deep spiritual significance to keep coming back. And everybody knows what it is, and I don't. And I'm the loser one more time because I don't get it. Thanks for swinging by. I'm sure about 3 a.m. that keep coming back thing is going to help me out a lot when I'm losing my mind in my little one-room shack I'm living in. You know what? If you're new and they do that to you, this is my opinion. Just my opinion. That's all it is. You know, I ain't the most important guy here. Everybody thinks, who's the speaker? Speaker. I'll tell you what, man, the coffee guy don't show up, nobody could... Almost screwed up right there, didn't I? If the coffee guy doesn't show up, nobody cares what the speaker's got to say. Where's the damn coffee, man? That's right? A lot of people around here are more important than the speaker. But if they do this to you, if they come up to you and they say, hey, keep coming back, or one day at a time, or my personal favorite, hey, just turn it over, all right? You know, if you come off the streets like I do, and they do that stuff to you, like it's got this deep spiritual significance, I hope you have more courage than I had, and you step up to the plate and say, excuse me, I don't understand the deep spiritual significance of just turn it over. You mind expanding on that for me a little bit? And from where I come from, man, if they're honest about it, about 75% of them would say, you know, I don't know what it means either. They said it to me when I came in. I'm just saying it to you. I don't know, you know. And that's a rut, man. If you're new, don't come in here and get your AA rap down. Don't get to where you can talk the game, because that won't help. It won't. Don't get to where, you know, people say, how you doing? Sober all day. What's up, man? Trust God, clean house, help others. Peace, brother. Don't get into that, man. Jump in the middle. Don't be getting your game together, man. This is the real deal. There's a big buzz to be had here. Don't be messing with the little buzz. If you're anything like me, man, I got to have the big buzz. I mean, if you're out there, I don't know, but I'm looking at you, and I'm guessing you're not the kind of people that used to say stuff like, no, thank you, I've had enough, or no, none for me, I'm driving. I mean, you didn't say stuff like that, you know? You were after the big buzz. You stayed at the table till it was gone. You right? That's the big, just do this the same way. Jump in the middle. Don't get your AA rap down, man. It'll kill you. Just my opinion. Probably be, I should have a sign that says, just my opinion, and you just hold it up all the time. You know what I mean? Or just stick it in the ground next to the podium. Just leave it there. Anyway, I sat in that first meeting, man, and the reason I stayed there is because I had no place else left to go. It's a good way to get here. And this guy got up and he shared his experience, strength, and hope, and I didn't know that's what he was doing. Right? And he talked openly. He did two things that blew my mind. He talked openly and honestly about his feelings as a man. And I've never heard anybody do that before. Guy was amazing. He had this grace and this dignity about him and this ease and this comfort about him where he was so comfortable talking about this devastating stuff in his life. You know what I mean? These really bad decisions that he had made and the consequence. And that he lived this life, and he lived an honorable, dignified life as a result of utilizing the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he explained what a meeting was for. And he explained why he did the steps. He broke it down. And he said, look, we have a meeting. The only purpose of a meeting is to have a place where a newcomer can come and hear a message of recovery and a message of hope. So he said, so I don't get up here and dump my crap all over the meeting and then sit down. If I got problems that I need to talk about, I'll get up and talk about my problems. Then I talk about the tools I found in here that I use to address those problems in my life so that I can walk through with a free man as opposed to enslaved by drugs and alcohol in my life. So the guy was on the positive side of things, and I thought, that's pretty cool. He talked about how he'd wake up in the morning and his head would just be on him. I knew about that. I was sitting back there with a look of disdain on my face, my arms full, like, you know, what's this guy now? And instead I'm thinking, whoa, wow, guy's in my head. You know, he was talking about how his head would get on him in the morning, telling me he was worthless before his feet hit the floor. And in the face of that voice, he could get up and he could take a shower and get dressed and go to work and put in an honest day's work, and after work get something to eat, then go to a meeting and help set up the chairs, right? And that he would go to a meeting not to take from that meeting, but to give to it. Because he had worked the 12 steps as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, he had had an awakening as a result of that, and now he had something to get, rather than come to meetings and take, which is the job of a newcomer. He had been given what we have here, and he turned around and was going to the meetings to be of service to the meeting, to bring to the meeting as a result of the awakening he had experienced. And that was why he came to meetings, and he would be at a meeting, be of service to that meeting, and we'd go home and get in bed, no wreckage. Head chewing on him all day, no wreckage. That blew my mind. Because I got my head chews on me, I create wreckage. I medicate those feelings, and all hell breaks loose. And then it was like he looked right at me and he said, you know what, I don't care whether you like what I got to say or not. You don't like what I got to say, go to another meeting. I love that. Because that made it clear to me, this guy's not selling me something, he's sharing it with me. If I want it, I can have it, it's for free. If I don't want it, that's cool. Go to another meeting, maybe you hear somebody that's got something you want. And he sat down, and I sat there and thought to myself, this is cool, I'm coming back. And I've never left. I've stayed here from that day to this. And a week ago, I don't know what the day, November 6th, I celebrated, as a result of you, because of you, last November 6th, I celebrated 20 years of sobriety. And like I said, you're applauding yourselves. It's got nothing to do with my best thinking. It's nothing I did. Using my best thinking, if I'm not already dead, which there's no way I'm alive still, using my best thinking, the best you could expect from me is that I'd be down on the beach under the pier knocking them back, you know? Down there with a short dog, doing my thing. And that's not the life I live today. So I came in, I just kept coming back, and I kept doing the things you said to do. And they said, get a sponsor. And I said, what's a sponsor? And they said, somebody who's got what you want. And I said, well, I'd like to drink, all right? So I think maybe it's a little early to be throwing a ball back in my court. And I have come to believe at this point now, I want a sponsor who's got what he wants. At this point now, I want a sponsor who's got what he wants. That's a definition of happiness to me, wanting what you have. That's happiness. And I got a sponsor. I got the late, great Donald Madden to sponsor me. I went up and I asked him to sponsor me, and he said yes. And you don't have to like what I tell you, and you don't have to think it's a good idea. You just have to do it. Because like I've been alluding to tonight, this is a program of action. What you know around here will not save you, Earl. What you do will. You must take these actions. Knowing about the steps won't help you. Engaging those steps, attempting to find a way to manifest the spiritual content of those steps in your life, this will sustain you. Being of service, taking those actions, this will sustain you. We chop wood and carry water around here, man. I mean, that's what we do. We chop wood and carry water. How we chop wood and carry water is we go to meetings. We pick up newcomers. We set up chairs. We break them down. My favorite thing in Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm a member of the Monday night good old-fashioned AA group in Los Angeles. Right? And my job is they have given me the esteemed position of assistant chair putter away guy. Now, this means that I do not actually put the chairs away. I take them from the person who is bringing them, and I hand them to the guy who actually puts them away. And at 20 years of sobriety, they do not believe I am quite yet ready to actually put the chair away. So I just hand it to the other guy. And every time there's a change of secretary at that meeting, I run up to them and I say, right after this election, I knock people down and I get to the new secretary and say, can I please be the assistant chair put away guy? And they're like, relax, Earl, nobody else wants a job, man. It's like, you don't need to be in a hurry. I just said, just as long as I can stay right here, man. Guy right here and a guy right there. It's my favorite moment. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I stayed here and I did the things that you asked me to do. And I found out that people say a lot of crap from the podium. And this guy said, if you want to know what's real, because a lot of very talented, gifted people get up and they're very charming and they're very entertaining, and they talk about all sorts of stuff. And I mean, I've been to meetings that were just delightful meetings, and I left the meeting thinking, glad I'm not new, man. If I'd have been new, I'd have thought, well, apparently all you need to stay sober is a teddy bear and a hug. And that ain't my experience. Right? But if you want to know what's going on, if you really want to know what's going on, if you really want to get the lay of the land, read this. Read this. Because if you read that, study that, it's a text to be studied. If you study the text of Alcoholics Anonymous, the doctor's opinion, read the forewords, read the doctor's opinion, read the first 164 pages, check that stuff out, dig around in there, root around, talk to other people that know what's up in there, get a sense of that. You can sit in meetings and quietly, showing respect for the podium, whether you respect the person behind it or not, you can show respect for the podium, and you can think quietly to yourself, oh, that guy's talking about recovery, and that guy's not. And you can separate it out, and you can get down to the stuff that will sustain you in life. I got into the book. Let's put it this way. I've been loaded on everything there is to be loaded on. I've been upside down, sideways, through the roof, in the basement. I've been every direction there is to go. Biggest buzz I've ever known in my life is in that book. And it's real simple, man. There's this circle with a triangle. It's an ancient spiritual symbol. It stands for mind, body, and spirit, brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance we seek as human beings and can never find, that I could not find drunk or sober. Alcoholics Anonymous adopted that symbol in its unity, service, and recovery. It's the same thing. The unity is the body. I must bring it here. I must be with my fellows. Left to my own devices, isolated, separate, alone, what I do is I get drunk and I get loaded. Because life on life's terms is going to happen. And the time will come, and it has, where I get hit with the bad news. Or something happens that I find very distasteful or upsets me or hurts me or causes me to feel those feelings that I medicated all my life. And if I'm not hooked up, I'm going to medicate them. That's what I do. I got to fill the hole. If I'm not filling it here, I'm out there and that hole's running dry, man. It's going empty, and I don't even know it till the bad thing happens, till life happens, and I'm standing there defenseless in the face of my alcoholism. So I must be with you. I can't get sober, but we seem to be able to. So I have to go to meetings. Unity is the body, I bring it here. Recovery is the mind, the greater aspect of my disease, the thing that separates me from the problem drinker. Given a good reason, he can stop. Given a good reason, I cannot. I have to find a way. It's not just about cleaning up. If it was about kicking detox centers, it'd be kicking out winners, man. 72 hours and free. I got to deal with the greater aspect of my disease, the obsession of the mind, that voice in my head that tells me that somehow, someday, I can drink like a normal man. It says in the book that the persistence of this illusion, this belief in a lie, that I can drink like a normal man is astonishing, that many of us pursue it to the gates of insanity and death. And that's me. I've been tagged dead and I've been thrown in nut houses. That's where I go. That's where I end up. I don't have any governors on me that break me, slow me down. So I've got to find, it's not just about getting sober, it's about finding a way to, it's not about stopping, it's about finding a way to stay stopped. How do I stay stopped? And the only way a guy like me is going to stay stopped is if I can find a way to be comfortable clean, if I can find a way to be comfortable sober. And the only way I know to be comfortable sober is to be relieved of the obsession of the mind. How do you do that? Work the steps. That's what they're for. So I said, okay, how do you do that? And they said, they're in the book, man. Start digging. And it was pretty simple. Step one is, what's the problem? Lack of power is my dilemma. Seems that my whole life is unmanageable as a result of this one thing. Lack of power is my dilemma. Well, if that's my problem, what's my solution to the problem? Step two, that a power if lack of power is my problem, that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession to drink or use. Cool, I'm with that. Notice, I haven't even got off the couch, you know what I mean? I'm in there going, yeah, that's the problem, all right. Okay, it's going to have to be the solution, tried everything else, what else you got? And it says, well, you better make a decision to do something about this information. What do you want me to do? Well, we think you ought to get down on your knees, pray, turn your will and your life over to the care of God, and then get right back up on the couch. I said, all right, sounds a little spooky, but okay. Got down on my knees, turned my will and my life over to a God I did not understand, a God I believed at that time I had renounced. So that just was stuff flying out the window as far as I could tell. Got back up on the couch, a little spooked by it. Said, all right, and they said, you know what? This all means nothing unless you embark upon a plan of immediate action. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? They said, the action plan's 4 through 9. We're going to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Me, God, and you. Nobody else to play with. 4 and 5 is me. I do a 4-column inventory on resentment, fear, and sex. I swallow large chunks of truth about myself. I see a pattern of how I've lived my life. 6 and 7, I hook it back up with God. Ask God to remove my defects of character because I'll remove the wrong stuff. That's the way it is. 8 and 9, now there's a lot of conversation in the book on 8 and 9 because they're actually going to let me out of the house for the first time. You know, I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to go back out and I'm going to make my amends. I'm going to go, no big, hey, look what a bitching guy I've become, man. I'm on this vision quest. I'm a spiritual guy. You should feel good that I'm standing here apologizing to you. No. I'm very, very sorry. Here's your money. Back to the house. And to amend means to change, right? So, I'm very sorry I stole your car. I estimate the value of the car at $3,500 at the time of the theft. I'm going to start paying you in monthly installments in this amount. If that's okay with you, I will do this until you are paid back. And I will not go steal your car, sell it to pay you for the car I stole from you. I'm not going to stop stealing cars. So I went through that process, and the promises started to become true for me. It was blowing me away. 10, 11, and 12 are the steps that keep me in the game. 10, me, 11, God, 12, you. Same thing. 10, I continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it, because I'm a work in process. I don't go through that pass. I don't pass through the deep spiritual universal laws of foot in those steps, one pass and achieve, perfection. Doesn't happen. I've scratched the surface. I've made a beginning, right? And I need to go back. And what's cool about the steps is you think there's only 12 steps. Steps are infinite. Because I've worked those 12 steps, had an experience as a result of doing it, come back to step 1, a whole new step. They didn't change, but I did as a result of going through the process. And that's all that's ever happened around here. The tools I used at 20 days are the same tools I'm using at 20 years. You know why? Because they work. Only thing that's changing around here is me. What's real is real. What works, works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So 10, 11, and 12, I stayed in the game. 10, me, continue to take personal inventory. 11, I seek God. I seek God through prayer and meditation. I pray for knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. And I meditate to quiet the mind so that when the answers come, I can hear them. And the third side of the triangle is the spiritual side. Having 12 steps, having had a spiritual awakening is the result of these steps. Having been restored to sanity, soundness of mind, relieved of the obsession to drink, I can now be comfortable sober. I've got to give it away. I got to practice these principles and help the alcoholic who still suffers. So I go to meetings with the attitude now not of taking, but of giving. How can I help? Not because I'm a good guy, but because I don't want to die drunk. So I do it. And so I've managed to stay and be comfortable sober and not have the obsession to drink or use. The voice has been silenced. The beast is asleep. I don't have to dance with that beast. I'm not white-knuckling it. I don't have to struggle. I get to walk this path. Donald Madden, I was with Donald Madden, and I talked to him every day for almost 14 years up until the day he died. And it broke my heart because I thought Donald Madden was dead. Until a couple of years later, I gave a guy sponsored a cake for 11 years, and he got up and he said, I want to thank Earl for showing me the way. I want to thank the late, great Donald Madden for showing him the way. And I knew I was in a chain of human beings. And I started to cry because I realized Donald Madden will never die. Donald Madden's in the lives of so many men and women in Southern California that are out there carrying the message and working with others and taking the time to be with newcomers and sharing their experience, strength, and hope and giving away what was freely given to them. Donald Madden's never going to die. He'll live forever. And that makes me feel great because that's my lineage. I was with Donald longer than I was with my parents. You know, he was the single most important human being to me in the world. He saved me, is what he did, because he brought me Alcoholics Anonymous. He brought a God into my life, a God that I do not understand, but that I pray to regularly, and I see the evidence of in my life every day. I don't pretend or profess to understand God, though. I just can't seem to get my head around infinity. I won't go all the way around. And I have that God because Donald Madden very lovingly one day pointed out to me that I could not be mad at a God I did not believe in. He enjoyed saying that to me. It blew the top of my head off. So, where I am today is, I'm 48 years old. I'm 20 years sober. I'm more comfortable standing where I'm standing, doing what I'm doing with the people I'm doing it with than I ever have in my life. And you know what? That place that I had to avoid my whole life, that right here, right now, is the place I strive for on a daily basis, to be right here, right now. My sponsor for a time was a guy named Earl H, immediately following Donald. And all he used to say to me was, "You're good with the program, man. I just want you to try to get between these." He says, "Get between here. Get right in there. Get right in there. Because that's the only place there's a God for you. That's the only place you can live your life. That's the only place you can give or receive love. It's the only place that you can have any dignity or honor as a man. It's the only place you can experience the passion that you seem to require on a daily basis. It's the only way you can get up and catch the buzz, man." And it's still that about me. I got to catch the buzz. I got to know that I can close my eyes, breathe in and out, and go to a place that makes life a remarkable, immediate experience. And that's how I try to live my life. And I mean, we got to remember, I'm the guy that couldn't stay sober for a minute. I couldn't face the world at all. And I'm living a life like that as a result of being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're new, I congratulate you. If you're new, check this thing out, man. Get yourself one of these. I mean, we all had our sword and our shield out there, and we were cutting and slashing with the best of them. We come dragging in here, man. Sword and the shield are no good anymore. Well, we got new ones for you. We got the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is our program that has withstood the test of time and has done more for alcoholics than anything else has ever done for us since we started crushing grapes, and a few of us started having a weird reaction to it. We got the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we got the fellowship of AA. This is the living embodiment of what goes on in here. I mean, you look around these rooms and you think, well, these people didn't use like me. Guess again, man. We did not look like this when we got here. All right? What you got here, I'm in a room with... What you're looking at is beyond anything you could comprehend. What you're looking at is a room full of dead people sitting up and celebrating their lives, gathering around the campfire like we do to talk about our verbal history and to share our experience, strength, and hope with each other and to encourage one another to face the day and live it honorably and with some dignity. And more than anything else, to live it with, we now have hope, we now have purpose, and we now have value. And I got to tell you, I think the greatest thing that you can give to an alcoholic is hope. I came here hopeless, and that's what you gave me. You gave me hope that maybe somehow, some way, I could live a life that had some kind of purpose or some kind of value, because I had none of that. And now I live a very valuable, purposeful life. Not because of anything I came up with, but because of what I've been given in Alcoholics Anonymous. This goes so far past not drinking and using. It's amazing. It's amazing. When they say in the Vision for You, they talk about our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. That may be true, but they know more than anybody else. You know, and they say more will constantly be disclosed to us, and it has been, and we have embraced that and incorporated that and moved on in our lives. One thing that has remained solid and true is the 164 pages. It has remained true, and it works now just as beautifully as it did the day they wrote it. It also says that we trudge the road of happy destiny. And if you look back in those dictionaries back in the late 30s, to trudge meant to walk with purpose. Not the connotation that we give it today. It meant to walk with purpose. And that's what's happened to me. If you're new, come on in here and catch the buzz, man. Find the ones in here that got the passion in their eyes, are living life and aren't afraid to express that. I was the kind of guy that was always in the back with my arms folded, afraid to commit to anything. I couldn't let you know I felt strongly about anything, because that meant I had a weakness, and that was a way you could get at me. In here, you get the armor taken off you one little piece at a time, till eventually somebody like John A. or Patty O., who's going to speak on Sunday, right? Well, you'll be up at that podium, you'll be sitting out there thinking you're minding your own business, and they'll start talking, and they'll be in your head, and then all of a sudden they're in your heart. And all of a sudden you've been cracked open, and you're defenseless in the face of the truth. You're defenseless in the face of the truth, that you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, and what you need is hope. What you need is to find value and purpose. What you need is a path and a way and people to show you. And then you look around the room, and everybody's got their hand out, going, come on, man, let's go. We do this together. If you're new, just start walking. Get yourself a sponsor and take some direction. Just try it. It says in there also, in the back of the book, I think 570 something, it says in the second appendices on spiritual experience, it says, the only thing that can keep a man in everlasting ignorance is contempt prior to investigation, Herbert Spencer. And that's the truth, man. Do not condemn this until you have experienced it. Come in, try it, mix it up. And you start walking through the minefield that is there for every newcomer. You know? And as you will, they'll say, step right there, bro, step right there. You're going to be all right. And you step there and it's okay. And you got a little bit more trust, because you're going to have to make a conscious decision to trust us. And then you take another step and another step and another step. And then you're going, wow, man, I'm moving. You know? And you got some hope. The elusive thing, man. You got hope. You're not hopeless anymore. And all of a sudden, because we don't expect you to have faith in AA. How can you have faith in AA? You got no experience with it at all. But if you come in here and do these things, all of a sudden the time will come for you where you will look up and you will look back into your own life, and you will see that your own life has gotten better as a result of being here with us. That's your own experience, and you can have faith in that. Then what you do is you turn around and you keep coming with us, because up ahead of you is the big buzz, man, the big buzz. Out there when we were drinking and using, best buzz I ever had was that little joint and that little red wine with Matt and Steve behind that dorm when I was 12 years old. It was perfection, because it was the first release for me. And I chased the tail of that dragon for 16 years on a daily basis. And slowly but surely the buzz got less and less and less, and the price I paid for it got higher and higher and higher. So by the time I got here, man, I was paying a terrific, horrible price just to get even. It wasn't about catching a buzz anymore. I was just trying to get well. I came in, you come in here, man, most amazing thing in Alcoholics Anonymous is a 30-day chip. Because you're living in a state of grace, man. You got no tools. You don't know what the hell's going on. What you got in you is a massive fear of what's behind you, and that propels you through that first 30 days. And you're trying to grab hold of anything you can get your hands on, man. 30-day chip, remarkable. They say there are no big deals in here. I think that's a remarkable deal, that anybody gets a 30-day chip. You get that, and you keep moving. You pay a hell of a price for that 30-day chip, and you get a little tiny buzz. You get a little bit of hope, that little glimmer of hope. But you stay here, and guess what? The price you pay to stay here will become less and less and less, and the buzz you get will get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's the opposite of being out there. What that means to me is bigger buzz ahead. I'm going to know more dignity as a man. I'm going to feel love. I'm going to feel a connection between me and other human beings on an even greater level than I already do. That's a mind blower for a guy like me. And all I got to do is trust God, clean house, and help others. Trust God. My relationship with God, that's in the steps. Clean house, check my side of the street, that's in the steps. Help others. Connect to the human race. Came here alone, not alone anymore. Came here, went from a dark place with no soul, no love in me. I got love, I got big love. I got an amazing life back in Los Angeles, an absolutely amazing life. I'm loving and being loved. I'm responsible, I have friends, I have a career, I have the respect of my peers. I get to be of service on a daily basis. I sponsor this biggest bunch of knuckleheads you ever met in your life, man. I got them. They got anywhere from 17 years clean all the way down to 2 weeks. Got one guy with 2 weeks. And it's the same thing. And they call me and we do our deal. And they think I'm giving to them. Look what I'm getting. I'm catching a buzz, man. If you're new, come on, catch the buzz. Be with us. Celebrate this thing. And amazing things will come to pass for you, as it has, as you can see, for countless others. I wish you peace. Thanks.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.